Hello, 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 good people. Hello, good people. I am Dr. Hollie Kelly, and this is Dr. Kelly's Perspective for Thursday, the 30th of November, last day of November 2017. I want to come to you today, and I'm already telling you up front, you might as well share the video out. If you are in a position or have a platform of authority or leadership, if you are in any kind of leadership position or role, I am speaking directly to you and those who are aspiring to get into that position of leadership. And I just want to be that supervisor, and I want to be that manager, I want to be that lead. I'm talking directly to you this morning, and I'm trying to, keep it under wraps a little, keep it from blowing out of my head, because I am leadership is an area that I am passionate about. And years ago, I developed my 5 C's of leadership, one of which is courage. And what I'm seeing right now is a whole lot of lack of it. The lack of courage from those, hey Donnie, from those who are in positions of leadership. And it doesn't matter what industry, what institution, what type of an organization you are in. When leaders or those in positions of responsibility and authority do not display courage to handle hard and difficult situations, we all pay a price for that, all of us. And we can see right now that our entire nation is paying the price for a lack of leadership. I have said before, I will always say this quote from Dr. John Maxwell: everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything. And in every institution, when things are going well, you can find a breadcrumb trail back to leadership. When things are falling apart and crumbling, you can find that same breadcrumb trail back to leadership, or the lack thereof. And we look at our nation and we see almost hourly now, not even day by day, by the hour, someone else is being fired or forced to resign or being publicly shamed because of sexual harassment or sexual assault. That is not a surprising phenom to me. It's not surprising to me. And I'm not really going to talk about the issue of sexual assault. I'm taking it back to the leadership, because everything rises and falls on leaders, and nothing is done in a vacuum. Hey, Eric, nothing is done in a vacuum. And so all of this mess that we see, and again, it is across the board. It is in the church. It is in the military. It is obviously in Hollywood and politics and the White House. It is in law enforcement. It is in academia. It is in nonprofit arena. Every institution, every type of organization has the problem that can manifest as sexual assault and sexual harassment, because whenever you put people in positions of authority and you do not provide them with the tools, you do not train them to have the courage that it is going to take to be a solid leader. Leadership is not leadership when it's convenient. Anybody can do that. Leadership is not leadership when it is comfortable. Anyone can do that. When we do not step up to the plate and do leadership on a courageous basis, we end up with the mess that we are in. It doesn't take a lot. So for all of those who may be saying, well, those women, they shouldn't have been doing that and they were just stupid. Let me tell you what it takes for that type of environment to thrive. It takes accessibility, vulnerability. That's it. Accessibility and vulnerability, and then you combine that with someone who has never felt any repercussions for bad behavior. This is what we get. This is the mess we get. So if we were to take a snapshot of all of the famous and the infamous cases, all those who are hitting the airways and the CNNs and Washington Post, if we were to take a snapshot of all of those cases that are making our headlines right now, we can very easily, like watching a bad movie, all we have to do is peel back the layers. Peel back the layers of this person's journey. It is never their first time. It is never their first time because they're predatory in nature. And we allow that to happen every time we do not confront poor behavior. What we do in leadership, because we lack the courage and call it, you can fix it up how you want to fix it up. It is a lack of courage. Okay, and it may be in an environment that does not support you. I understand that. I'm talking about leadership in its fullest extent. The environment that is created in an organization that would tap someone on the hand for bad behavior and pass them on. Every time, hey Scoop, hey Miss Johnny, every time we give an easy pass to someone because, well, you know, he really is good people and I didn't want to mess up his career. I'm sure it was it takes two to tango. Every time we do that, we are encouraging and we are emboldening the predator. Okay, now, don't think of predator with horns and an evil disposition. Most of the predators, and again, peel back the layers of all this nonsense we have going on in our newspapers and broadcasts every day. Every single one of them are very typically, very persuasive, have a phenomenal personality. They're very good at what they do. They're pleasing because that's all part of the manipulation. It is part of the manipulation. Okay, so it's very easy to fit in. They get in where they can fit in. And they only need two things. They need accessibility and they need vulnerability. Well, I'm not vulnerable, so that's why it would never happen to me. And I would never, first of all, stop with the never and stop with what would never happen to you. Even if you have never been in a position to be victimized and to be belittled and demeaned and disrespected in an environment of sexual assault or sexual harassment, even if that has not been your story. There are people around you, yes, both male and female. I've worked with both male and female victims, okay? There are people around you who are not safe. You're in the leadership position, you're in the supervisory role, and yet they are not safe. The environment does not produce to them a working environment, a church environment, a school environment that allows them to come in and do their job because there are people that work for you. There are people that work under your cog that are predatory in nature. And you've heard little things, but you continue to bypass them and sweep them under the rug because he's a producer, because he can bring in the money, because his numbers are rock solid every time, because he's making, excuses when lives are being destroyed. Okay, so at some point, those of us in leadership have got to step to the plate and do the hard things. And yes, it takes courage. Yes, it takes a certain skill set to be able to put people and hold people accountable. There are repercussions. And let me tell you something. People do what people are allowed to do. People do what they are allowed to do. Across the board. Do not think that you've got this finely tuned institution unless it is part of your culture. That bad behavior, that sexual assault, that discrimination, that harassment is not tolerated in this entire industry. Unless that is a known quantity from the outside and from those within, it can happen. It can happen. And it happens more so, it happens easier every time one of us have the position, have a platform of authority, and yet we are silent. We might tap them on the hands and get them out of here, Just get them out of here. I don't care what you do. Just get them out of here. But you send them on without paper following them. So they show up at their new position. They show up in their new industry with a clean record. But you knew all along. What I am asking is for those of us who have this privilege of leadership, we have a privilege. God has given us a platform of leadership. And I guarantee you it was not simply for you to get a bigger paycheck. It was not simply for you to have your parking spot with your name on it. It was not simply for people to say, oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. What do you need? Oh, yes. Okay. Not a problem. I'll get right back to you. That's not what leadership is all about. You've got people attached to you. You've got people attached to your responsibility. And it is time that we step up to the plate. I am prayerful that this is the beginning of a cultural shift on two fronts. That those who have been victimized and demeaned are getting the courage to come forward because now there's a support system in place. There's a structure that allows them to speak more freely. So that's one end, but the onus falls on those of us who are in leadership, and we hear things, we see things, we smell things that are rotten to the core. Well, hello there, Sergeant Bronston. We smell even things that are rotten to the core, and yet, because we don't have the courage to step up and confront it and hold it accountable, we just let things go by. Or we use a bottom line dollar, or they're producing as our bottom line. We don't rate to call ourselves leaders. We don't rate to be in a position of leadership if you do not develop your courage muscles early on. And that is what it takes. Don't presume that you're going to let things slip and slide when you're junior, when you're lower on the spectrum of leadership. And then as soon as I get in that position, as soon as I get that title, watch me, I'm going to clean house. I'm going to drain the swamp. Okay, as soon as I get there, I'm going to clean this mess up. You will not have developed the courage muscles that it takes to confront the evil and the nonsense that you're going to face when you get to that higher level. Silence changes nothing. As a matter of fact, silence promotes. Those who are, and I know this is going long, what I say, not quick and not easy. This morning might not be a little quick one. Okay, I need to remind you. I'm just going to remind you. I'm going to presume that those who listen to the Dr. Kelly's perspective are already doing what they've done. They were young. They were young in their professional life, and they had the courage to do the right thing from the very beginning. Hey, Pastor Rome. Okay, so I'm going to presume that. So this is just to serve as a reminder. If God has given you the privilege of leadership, you have a responsibility, and it is a heavy weight on your shoulder. You have a responsibility to all of those who are around you to be a courageous leader. Not a convenient leader, not a comfortable leader, not a leader who is so set on protecting my own little reputation that when you do smell something wrong in the camp, you just pass it on and get it out of here. No, you have to do better than that. We have a responsibility. The mess that we are seeing happening right now is because somebody and a whole lot of somebodies allowed people to continue with no repercussions, with no accountability, as long as they were bringing in the numbers, making the sales, okay? Bringing in the crowd. We have a responsibility. So don't look to, oh my goodness, I can't believe someone else did that. Believe it. People do what people are allowed to get away with. And it only takes accessibility and vulnerability. Combine that with no accountability, no repercussions, and a little silence, we got a horrible mix happening. Okay, so we need to do better. We have got to do better. And it starts with some courage. My 5 C's to leadership: courage. Well, let me start how I typically teach it. Character, caring, courage, competence, and communication. If you're lacking any of those, you're lacking in some leadership roles. And so those is that we promote into leadership. We hire based off this glowing resume, and then we end up firing off of behavior. Okay, enough is enough. We've got to do better. Give people the skills for leadership. Put them into situations where they have to make tough decisions, where they have to show moral courage to do the right thing. And not just over those who are lower on the totem pole. Will they show courage with their peers? Okay, that's the real test. If I outrank you, it's easy to jump on you in a flash. Will I do the same with my peers? Will I do the same with my colleagues? Okay, again, I'm hopeful that this is a beginning of an entire cultural change. That is what is going to be needed if we are ever going to shift the tides of this harassment and assault and bad behavior that we have. Don't think, well, I just thought it was just that one time. He said it was just that one time, so I didn't want to ruin his career. Okay, it takes courage if you're going to be in that leadership role. You got to start developing your courage muscles early on. If I can help you with that, leadership is my passion. Yes, personal development, I spend a lot of time on it with my perspectives, but leadership is probably what I am most passionate about because I see the repercussions when it is done poorly. Okay. Hey, Pastor Roan. Okay, thank you for all who are joining me. I apologize for no fervency. I apologize for no passion this morning. We don't have time for that. We don't have time to tiptoe. We don't have time to be quiet about it and keep passing things on quietly. We're long past that. Go develop some courage or get out of the role of leadership. Until next time, take real good care of yourselves and share the video.